When it comes to lasting change and transformation, there is nothing more powerful than working at the identity level. So in this video, you're going to see me do a demonstration with one of my students, Mika. Before we can change and transform, we need to know what are those unconscious structures, those unconscious elements that are holding our sense of self in place. And once you have that, you sort of have a map of how to change. Once you know how the structures are created and how you're doing it unconsciously, when the unconscious elements become conscious and the two are talking to each other, the unconscious and the consciousness, that's when you can go and make change. You can't change things that you're not even aware of. You can't change things that you're not yet conscious of. So in this video, you're going to see me bring to the surface these elements, and then we're also going to explore. We're going to see when we change things, what happens, how it changes her sense of self, how it changes this quality that we're working with in her identity. Towards the end of the demonstration, you'll see when I suggest a very simple change, moving something that is uncertain into an area for her that are the structures of certainty, how it affects her and how it changes her. It's quite amazing, but at the same time, it's extremely simple. So if you would like to be able to do this, if you'd like to learn how to do this for yourself so that you can create change and lasting transformation at the identity level for yourself, or you're a coach and you would like to do this with other people, with your clients to help them create lasting change and transformation, if you go down to the description right here, you will see a link. You click on that link, and the best thing to do is to just get started with yourself. Just take that assessment that you'll find when you click that link, and that assessment will start to bring you through where in your life do you really want change most. And we have to take this a context at a time. We can't go at the identity directly. So we need to chunk it down. And what that assessment will do, it will help you do that. It'll help you break it down into smaller parts so it's a lot easier. And remember, if you want more videos like this, make sure you click that like button and hit the subscribe button as well as the bell so that you'll be notified when new videos come out. So why we're doing this is because if you want to change, if you want to transform, if you want to change your identity to become more the person who you want to be, and the reason why you'd want to do that is to transform into the person who has the things that you want to have, who has the accomplishments you want to have, who has the fulfilling life that you want to have. Change at the identity level is essential. However, we can't go at the identity directly. If you've tried this, you know what I mean. You just say one day, okay, I'm going to change. And then what does that mean? And how do I do that? And there's all these, we might have a lot of ideas about that. And then we try it. And then maybe it lasts a few days, maybe even a few weeks. And then you snap right back and you go back into all your old habits and ways of being. And again, that's not very fulfilling. So the reason why we're going to do what we're about to do is we chunk down from self-concept to the qualities of a person's self-concept. So that could be, are you a happy person? Are you a peaceful person? Are you a kind person? Or are you a loving person, a passionate person? So we go down to a lower logical level called qualities. And so if we're going to transform you or anyone into the quality that they want to have of their self-concept, we first have to model how a person knows anything about themselves. How is a person certain about any quality about themselves? And now a lot of people will go to reason, logic, and what we call content to try to find that out. Well, I'm this because, but what happens is that's just a story you're telling yourself. There's a lot more there in the structural form that is unconscious that we don't realize. And when we do realize this, which is what we're going to do in this demonstration, when you do realize this, then you can change that structure. And when you change that structure, that's where lasting change is created. And that's what NLP is all about. And NLP is all about modeling. So we're going to start off with Mika doing a quality that she is certain about. And it's also a quality that she likes about herself. And that's important too. And the reason for that is when we have a quality about ourselves that we like about ourselves, which means we value that about ourselves, and we behave in a way that aligns with that quality, that aligns with that value, confidence goes up, self-esteem goes up. Now, if we go really deep and we go to a really large, powerful, however you want to say it, value like freedom or peace or happiness, the higher up you go, when you install these qualities as qualities that you're certain about within yourself, That's when you reach a level of, this is where you go into purpose and meaning in your life. So the higher you go with the value of the quality that you install, the more meaning and purpose it feels, the greater the fulfillment. And the more mid-range and lower level qualities are going to be more about boosting confidence and self-esteem. So Mika has a quality that she's certain about. And what we're also going to do is we're going to use, we're not going to use content. And you might be saying, well, what do you mean exactly? Well, we're not going to go into the how, we're not going to go into the why. We're not going to go, because we're going to stick with structure only. And so much so that she's not going to even tell me what the quality is. We're just going to refer to it as Q. So anytime you hear me say Q, I'm referring, or she says Q, we're referring to a quality that she is certain about herself and that she likes about herself. And so we start by modeling this. And when we understand the structure of how she's creating the certainty about this quality, then we can take any quality that she wants to have more of in her life and in her identity and just drop that information into the structure. So are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. So are you Q?
Yes.
Okay. So also I want to point out that she doesn't hesitate about that. She knows this. She believes this about herself. She probably knows it about as well as she knows her name. If I say, are you Mika? She's going to go, yes. And so that's what I'm looking for. I want to know that this quality is certain before we start working. I don't want to just take her word for it. I want to see her nonverbals, because the nonverbals don't lie. The nonverbals tell me everything. If she had stopped and went, sometimes, then I would know that that's not a certain quality. So we know that this is a certain quality because how quickly she answered and how congruent her physiology is with her verbal answer. Okay, so how do you know that you're Q?
It's like I've always been that way.
Okay, so real quick, when she says something like that, that immediately tells me she's processing time, which is part of how we process our sense of self. She says, I always have been, so she's going into time. Okay, so do you have examples of being Q in your memories?
Yes.
Okay, and of course, because that's what built this quality to begin with. You experience Q so many times, and then you reflected upon yourself that I probably am this, and it might have been encouraged. You know, you might have had parents who said, "Wow, you're very Q," and then you go, "Oh, okay, well that's what that is," and then you keep categorizing this and reflect and attaching it to self. So, about how many examples do you think you have of being Q?
Yeah. I have 100 examples.
And the way you're saying that, I'm assuming you say 100, probably because you can't even count them all. There's so many. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so this is indicative of having a very strong quality. You're going to have lots of examples of being this quality. And so there's so much evidence here that it's quite natural that you have these. So the next question is, where are these examples located? And not where did they happen? Where did these memories take place? Where are you accessing them in your personal space? And you can even point to it with your finger when you find it.
Here.
Okay. So this is we're really stepping into, if you're not, and if you don't know NLP and you especially don't know this model, here's where we're stepping into an area where people are like, what are you talking about? Like, where are they located? But we do this. We put information and we categorize in our personal space, and this is where we're starting to tap into the unconscious. You know, where are these examples located? I'm accessing examples of being this quality. I know that I have memories of it. So where do they seem to be coming from? Especially for very visual people, they usually have a screen out here in front of them, and they have the examples laid out in front of them. And then for very auditory people, there's still a location, and like if it's voices or sounds, it's going to be coming from a direction. And then if we get into the kinesthetic, and I want to be very clear about what we're referring to when we talk about kinesthetic. We're not talking about the emotional and evaluative feelings, because a lot of people say, oh, I'm so kinesthetic. And I'll say, well, how do you know that? And they'll say, well, because I have to feel something before I do anything. And I'm like, okay, that's all of us. We're all kinesthetic. We're all emotional and evaluative. We see things, we hear things, and we can feel things, but in the sense of touch and proprioception. And when we gather that information, we make an evaluation about that. A lot of times emotion is involved in that. And so from that point, we say, oh, okay, well, here's what I'm going to do, or here's what I'm going to say. I'll get to more of that in a moment. So we know the location is over here to your left, right? And
Yeah.
when you access your examples, you're talking about hundreds of memories. Are you accessing them one at a time, or do they seem to be like all spread out at once, all coming at you at once? And that can be auditory or visual or even kinesthetic.
No, I get a sense that they are flipping like one after the other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, good. And then again, so I want to point out too that there's no right or wrong here. Like the location that she has it at, you know, there could be a better location, but that's how she does it. And so there is no, I'm not saying there is a right way to do this or a wrong way to do this. So she's accessing her examples one at a time, whereas some people might access them all at once. And again, there's no right or wrong to it. And you can explore this, and we will just a little bit to see if there's a better way for a person to do it. But what we're eliciting here is a structure of how she knows, how she's very certain about this particular quality. So when you're accessing them, how are you accessing them? Through what modality? Is it mostly visual, auditory, kinesthetic, or is there a combination there?
It's visual.
It's visual. Okay.
Yeah.
And is there anything else? Is there auditory? And other than the evaluative and emotional feelings that you experience, is there any sort of sense of proprioception or tactile touch?
No, it's visual. Yeah.
Great. And so when you're seeing them, you're seeing these memories. Are you associated into them, or are you disassociated? So I'm going to explain to the viewers what that means exactly. When you're associated into a memory, it's like you're there all over again, reliving the experience, seeing what you actually saw when you were there, hearing what you actually heard when you were there. Being disassociated means you see yourself in it, like you're watching a movie and you're a character in the movie, and so you're watching yourself throughout this memory. Which one are you?
Disassociated.
You're disassociated. Okay, and again, there's no right or wrong here. We're just exploring, and whatever creates that sense of certainty for someone is what works best. Then we go into submodalities. So submodalities are the finer details. And so visual submodalities are really easy to notice and to play with. The visual modality in general is probably the best modality to work in because you can access so much information at one time. So submodalities are the sub-qualities, the details of the modality. So she's seeing these memories. How big are the images that you're seeing? You can show me with your hands even.
Yeah, it's surprising, but they seem like real big.
Show me with your
I
hands.
think they would be small, but they're big.
Can
Yeah.
you show me with your hands how big? How big is big?
Like as big as the room where I'm in when I'm this cue.
So is it kind of panoramic then? That's another submodality.
Yes.
Good. Okay. And are they in color or black and white?
Color.
Good. That's another submodality. Okay. And are the colors rather rich, or are they sort of dim and like faded?
I would say they're, normal. What is normal? Not really bright, just
Normal, like everyday life.
really, yeah.
Okay.
I would see them in real.
And so let's explore with that a little bit, because submodalities are a lot of fun. Notice what happens when you make the colors richer. Does it make you feel this quality stronger, weaker, or no difference?
It makes me feel happy, and
Good sign.
It's a little bit unreal to make it so bright, but it feels
Okay, so this is very important, this detail. If it feels less real, That's actually, we don't want to do that because we want it to seem real. We want this feeling. Okay, so this is a very good distinction that I have to make often when I'm coaching people or when I'm teaching this, is that feeling better or feeling good isn't necessarily the goal here. Feeling your quality stronger, grounded, and resilient. That's what we're looking for. Because we can do a lot of things in NLP to make people feel really good, but it comes crashing down. It's almost like a drug. So we don't want to do that. We want this quality to be really solid so that no matter what happens in your life, it's so resilient that it always bounces right back. And if we pump it up too much and then you come down and that shatters what we've added to it, it can bring you down a lot. So we don't want to do that. So check in with yourself, and does it make the quality feel stronger within you, or does it just feel good?
No, it makes it unreal, and it makes me even laugh and feel happy, but in a way that it's like a joke. So no, I think the normal painted colors would be better.
And so this is also a clue that she actually uses the brightness of how she started out as a way of knowing that this is certain. So this is a good clue to know that one of the ways you code certainty is to have it look real, to have the colors be of what real life is like. So that's good. Let's see, do we want to do anything else? Let's just see what happens when you turn it into black and white.
No, it's like I can't find my way anymore. It's a good plan. Yeah.
Okay, and let's try one more thing just for fun. Make it small enough so that you can see the edges of the image. And when you do that, is there a frame around it, or does the image kind of bleed off into the background?
When I put a frame around it, it becomes not claustrophobic, that's too much, but constrained, if that's the right word. Yeah,
and especially for this particular quality, you probably don't want that, right? You want it to feel more open and free.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, so go ahead and make sure you put it back the way it was. Okay.
But it's good to know that I can play around with that when I need a little bit to dim that quality.
That's true. And just by doing this work alone, it gives you a tremendous sense of having much more control over who you are because you know this structure. And so also with exploring this, it can also make you feel this quality even stronger. So would you say that you're feeling very Q right now?
Yes.
But just the exploration alone can even enhance the qualities you already know are true about yourself. And that can be a really good thing if you want more of that. So that's pretty much it for the process elements. Now there are also aspects of time, and there are also aspects of content. I'll explore that in future videos. But I find the process elements to be the most powerful. And so let's play around with this, and we want to check in and see if this can actually be optimized, or with more exploration, we can just better understand how Mika creates a sense of certainty with a particular quality. So let's go back to number of examples. You said you had like hundreds of them. Okay. So what I want you to do is I want you to also notice that. So how do you know when you're looking at one that there are still hundreds?
Then if I look at one, it's in front of me, and then there's still these others up there.
Great.
Yeah.
So she notices that there is an indication, a coding in her in the structure that lets her know that there's more even when she's paying attention to one. So let's try this out. What I want you to do is I want you to only pay attention to that one, and I want you to pretend like you put a dark cloak over the others, so you can't see that there are others. There's only this one. And check in with yourself. Does it make you feel this quality stronger, weaker, or does it make any difference?
It doesn't feel good, and it made me kind of shiver a bit, and it feels yucky in my body.
Yeah. So bring it back, take the cloak off of it. And so this is how we know ourselves, and this is how we have some sense of certainty within ourselves. We have a coding, an unconscious coding that lets us know that. If we block that out, it gets very scary. We start to go, wait a minute, now I feel very uncertain about something that I thought I was very certain about. And this is what happens to people when they start to lose a sense of self. And I've experienced that before I did NLP training. I had moments where I was like, oh, wait a minute, something I thought I was so certain about, now I feel very uncertain about, and I started to doubt myself too much. So that's usually what happens for people. So that's really good to know, that you have a way of knowing that you have so many more of these examples. So let's play around with the location a little bit. I want you to, you started out here. It sounds like though you have a different sort of construct when you're going through your examples, which is normal too. What I want you to do is I want you to take this and I want you to move it to the complete other side, where you keep your database here, and move it to the other side and just check in again. How does that feel? Does it make your quality feel stronger, weaker, or no difference?
It doesn't want to go there.
So this is quite common too. So there's a part of you that is very protective and says, wait a minute, we don't want to do this. This could be a little dangerous. So let's just do this. Connect with that part of you. Let it know that we're just experimenting. We're just exploring. We'll change anything back. Nothing here is permanent. We understand the concern, because this is an important part of you that protects you. But we will put anything back that we change that is not acceptable. And just get its compliance. Okay, so now go ahead and move it over.
It's very funny. It feels jumpy there, and it stays there because I want it to, but it wants to go back. The feeling
Yeah.
Funny.
But can you hold it there long enough to get a sense of how that quality feels when it's there?
Yeah, it doesn't feel good. It even feels incongruent, if that's possible. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So go ahead and move it back. And so now what we know is that she already has it in the optimal place. Sometimes when I do this exploration with people, they actually find that another location makes the quality feel even more certain. You seem pretty tuned up already, so you want to keep that there. Okay, so you normally look at your examples one at a time, what we call sequential. Let's try simultaneous. Spread them out in front of you, and you can do that a number of ways. You could do it like icons on a computer screen. You can do it like a mosaic. Just go ahead and spread it out, see how they go. Now, of course, you're going to lose detail because you're going to see them all at once. You're going to lose detail. You're not going to be able to see as much detail as you would when you look at an individual one, and that's okay. So go ahead and just spread that out. And again, when you spread it out, check in. Does the quality feel more grounded, more certain, more resilient, or does it feel any different, or does it actually feel like it weakens the quality?
Okay. I can put them in front and they are floating around all at the same time, but then I don't see much. It's like dots, and it doesn't feel more solid. It feels chaotic to me.
Yeah, it's kind of like somebody went into your filing cabinet of Q and just threw everything out all over the place, huh?
Yeah.
And this is true for a lot of people who are not very certain about a particular quality. That's because there's no organization to their memories in regard to that particular quality. And sometimes it's just a matter of organizing it better. And then suddenly they feel that quality very strong and very certain, and it stays that way. So go ahead and put everything back the way that it was.
Okay. Yeah, it gives a sense of peace again.
Good. All right. So you said that these examples were only visual. So what I want you to do is I want you to go flip through them one at a time like you normally do, and add auditory, even if the auditory is just ambient sound, or it could be voices, it could be, you could even just add music. But what's probably most easy is to just add the soundtrack of whatever was happening at the time during the memory. So it might take you a few extra moments to get through to look at each one, but go ahead and take that step of adding auditory.
Okay. I added soft music to it, and it makes it feel calmer, but not more solid to me.
Did you try adding whatever the soundtrack was, like when the memory was actually happening?
No, not the exact soundtrack, because I don't. Well, let me check in if there is sound.
Yeah, and it could just be like, so silence is actually a sound too. It's, you know, a lot of times when we look at when we're only looking at or we're only accessing the visual, there's like a vacuum of sound. But go ahead and just add in, like if there were birds chirping or there was a wind blowing or people chatting in the background, add that if that's all there is.
Okay. Yeah, that's a great distinction, because it is more grounded with the real sounds of the moment. Yeah.
Yeah. So the reason this is because you're adding more information, and when you have more information, more detail about something, you feel more comfortable and confident about your knowledge of it. So this could be something you would want to add to make this feel even stronger. Now, for some people, though, it can actually, adding more information, they have a certain threshold of how much information they can handle. And if they add too much more, it starts to feel distracting. Therefore, they block out an entire modality like auditory. But most of the time, when you add a little bit of auditory, it will strengthen the feeling of having the quality, because you're just adding a little bit more information. And for you, I think especially, it feels more realistic, and you seem to really gravitate to that. What seems the most realistic, that gives me the most sense of certainty. So adding in what the sounds that were actually there makes it feel more certain, but just adding music makes it probably feel less real.
Yeah, it makes it feel more floaty, and that's not. Yeah, the real. No, and the groundedness of the real sounds, it feels really, good and solid.
Good. So you said you were also disassociated, but my sense about you, because when you started paying attention to one, it got so big. Did you associate when you really paid attention to one of them? Is that what happened? Or are you still out of the movie watching it?
No, when it's as big as life, was to say, I'm in it.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
That's what I thought. So this happens a lot for people who are what we call sequential, where you're looking at your examples one at a time. If you stop on one, a lot of times we tend to associate into it. Whereas somebody who's more simultaneous, seeing all of them at once, that they can't associate into it unless they focus on one, and then they'll associate. So this happens a lot when we focus on one. So what I want you to do is I just want you to notice the difference, the feeling you get inside about this quality when you're associated versus when you're disassociated. So just check in with yourself, associate, check in. You know, do I feel this quality stronger, more resilient, more grounded, or less, or no difference? And then try compare it to being associated and between associated and disassociated.
Okay. The difference that I feel is when I'm disassociated, it gives me more of an overview. And associated is the overview is, then I'm in one example. Of course, yeah, it can't be at different places. Yeah. Yeah, so it's more solid to be disassociated.
More solid to be disassociated.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think what you're saying is that when you're disassociated, you have more of an overall evaluation of the quality, but
Yeah.
probably when you're associated, it's like, wow, this feels really real. So it has its own quality to it as well. So the important thing here is knowing that you can do both, and that depending on, if you need to go in and get some sort of information, or you want to feel something more intensely, you can associate. But if you want to be more evaluative, you can pop out of it and be able to see this one example, and then also see it in the context of many other examples.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's good information to know. So what we would do from here is, well, in addition to going to the aspects of time and the aspects of content, there's more to model here, but this is what we just did, were the process elements, and then we did some exploration around it. What's really important with this is when you identify a quality that you want more of, that you value, but you feel like you're not getting, you're not having in your sense of self, then we take those memories, those examples, and we just basically plug them in to a lot of what we're doing here. And so let's just, for fun, do one more thing. Think about something about yourself that you're very uncertain of. It can be absolutely anything. It doesn't even have to be a quality. It can be a little messy here.
Absolutely uncertain or ambiguous.
Let's say ambiguous. This might be a little too hard to find. You might have to do too much searching. What am I uncertain of? Why is Damon asking me to do this?
But like this,
I'm uncertain about what I'm uncertain about.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming you have some sort of representation of it. That's what you just accessed. Was it visual as well?
Yes.
So go ahead and take that and just pop it into that same location of your database and notice it there, and give it the same other qualities and aspects that you have for your cue that you're certain about. How do you feel now about it?
I can't do it like that.
There's resistance?
Probably. What else would it be?
Yeah. So there's probably a very good and important reason for that resistance, as all resistance has a positive intent, even though the strategy may not be a good one. Underneath it is a positive intent. So just go to that part of you and just, again, tell it, we're exploring, we understand its concern. We're not going to do anything that will be harmful to you, and we will change anything back that we need to change back. So assure it, get its compliance, and then go ahead and put it in that location. And what do you notice how you feel when it's in that location?
Yeah. It's like it popped all in there, and it feels lighter, but let me check if it's I have a feeling it's organizing itself. Is that possible?
Yes, it does. When you show the unconscious a good way to do something, it will automatically do it. It's amazing how it works, and it'll work while you're sleeping, while you're not even trying. Yeah. So that's fascinating that it worked that easily. Usually there's a lot more. So because this is happening on its own, we want to check in. Is there any reason why you shouldn't or wouldn't want to be certain about this? about yourself?
No.
Okay. And so the reason why we want to do a little caution about this is because we don't want to be certain about things that we shouldn't be certain about. We don't want to be certain that we can fly an airplane when we've only had one lesson. We don't want to be certain about skiing a huge ski slope if we've only had a few lessons, or we're not well practiced. So there is a caution with that. I'm not, because we're working only in structure, not content. I just want to make sure that whatever it is that you just plugged in there, to make certain that it's something that would be good for you to be certain about.
Yes.
Okay. And that was a very congruent response. I didn't see any resistance there. So it was interesting that the resistance melted away that quick just by suggesting that we're exploring. You could probably use that a lot for a lot of things that you feel you're being held back from doing. So, so how do you feel now? I just want to check in and make sure that everything's okay.
Yes. Yeah, it feels good. And there's many times a lot of resistance, but because I've worked with resistance before as well, I just feel that it can shift quicker than it used to. So
absolutely. The more you do this, the more you work with this, the easier it gets. So, okay, well, I want to thank you so much for doing this demonstration.
It was my pleasure. Thank you.
You're welcome. So what do you think? Do you have any questions? If so, write that in the comments right down below and I will respond to you. And remember, if you want to learn this stuff, believe me, it's a lot of fun. Transformation and change does not have to be hard and painful. In fact, it's just the opposite. It's a lot of fun and you can be playful while you do it. So if you want to get that journey started, make sure you go down to the description right here, click that link, and get started by taking that assessment. I assure you, you will be happy when you do. You will learn so much more about yourself. And of course, if you haven't already, make sure you click that subscribe button, hit the bell so you'll be notified when new videos come out. Click that like button too. And as always, if you can think of a friend or a family member who would really benefit from this video, make sure you share it with them. Take care.